We have a full moon on January 28th, and it's a very auspicious full moon, really bringing in an energy of compassion, empathy, and devotion. We also have a whole pileup of planets, a whole stellium happening, and this full moon is gonna aspect that and activate that and help balance things out. Mercury is going to go retrograde this month, and we are also going to have a very auspicious Saraswati Yoga and more. I look forward to telling you all about that. Hi, I'm Prema Gurreri, and welcome to Chart Your Path, Vedic Astrologer, Consciousness Coach, and I'm here to support you in understanding the energy so that you can move with it instead of trying to swim upstream and move against it. So go ahead and click the subscribe button if you're not already subscribed, hit the bell notification, and like this video. The full moon happens halfway through the cycle between each new moon, and the new moon starts the cycle of energy. So this full moon happens to be in a very auspicious placement in Vedic astrology, the sidereal zodiac of Cancer, in a lunar mansion called Pusha. Very auspicious placement, has a relationship to the great planet of Jupiter, which is the great visionary, the great teacher in the sacred wealth code archetype system, and it brings in an energy of nurturing and nourishing, really calling us to sort of pour forth nourishment. It's represented in the scriptures as the udders of a cow. It's again to give nourishment and to connect to our hearts. Cancer is a place of devotion. Pusha is a place of deep spiritual devotion and empathy, and the connection to divine love, beyond that personal placement of love. So it has an energy with this full moon of a very dharmic path. Like dharmic, are you walking your dharmic path? And specifically, wherever this is happening for you, wherever Cancer is in your chart, I don't know that. So I'm giving you the update on the general energy so that you can apply it. And I guarantee you, where you feel this, because you're feeling your soul blueprint, you're feeling how these energies affect you. And as you listen in, you'll see that, oh, yeah, I'm noticing that. So this is asking us to really have a consideration for the whole, to really be able to tap into a higher knowledge this full moon brings in, and brings in the powerful spiritual maturity. And what I mean by maturity is, there's one thing to have an idea about spirituality and even spiritual practice, but bringing it down to earth. How are we being our spirituality? There's a energy in here really calling us to step in and be more of our spiritual nature, and we believe that to be. So, and also this great opening up our awareness to be considering the whole, not just ourselves, but to really be considering the whole. Our intuition is going to be turned up on this full moon, and the ability, they say, within Pusha is to be able to really activate this, spiritual energy. I think of that as the Shakti. So if you are engaged in spiritual practice, then you are going to have the ability to amplify the experience of the spiritual energy, get it really moving. So take time for your spiritual practices, whatever they are, whether they're prayer or yoga, anywhere in between, whatever your practice is, the energy you put in will be amplified. And spiritual practice comes in a lot of ways. Like in my community, doing a clearing process, doing a training that accesses your gifts, accesses you from the inside out, and how you're going to infuse that in what you're doing in the world. That's all spiritual practice. So again, it's very unique to you, but make the time to engage in practice on the full moon 28th, the day before, 27th, 28th, 29th, full moon time, because your energy will be amplified. And we could all use a little amplification. Mars is going to aspect this moon. That's the great honorable warrior, the engineer, the strategist in the sacred wealth archetype system. And it is going to really empower us, and has been, to take action, to march ahead, to get things done after for so long Mars sort of being in the ashram. And Mars is really giving us the courage because of the aspect on this new moon, full moon, and it's connected connection to truth, knowledge, to really speak the truth and speak our truth. But I want to invite you to be in consideration of everybody, and when you're speaking your truth and speaking the truth, so that you have awareness. And one thing with Mars is it can be very impulsive and impatient. So take a breath, take a step back, and make sure you're really connected to your heart when you are speaking the truth. This is an opportunity you will be called to, or maybe there is a situation you need to speak truth around, and this would be a time where you're going to feel the impulse to, but go ahead and bring some real intention to doing that. We have a big relationship to Saturn and almost all the planets during this full moon, because we have this big pileup, the stellium of planets happening in Capricorn. And then we have the moon in Cancer. So there is this dynamic and aspect between both of them. And Saturn is our place of Capricorn. Saturn rules Capricorn. Saturn is there, so is Jupiter. You can refer back to my last video in January if you want to take a closer look at what was happening as far as Jupiter and Saturn and that great conjunction there. But we are going to have this, we have this energy of practicality, of systems, of structure, of responsibility in a serious nature. And this is happening specifically for you in some area of your chart. Like if you're an Aries ascendant in Vedic astrology, it's going to happen in your 10th house. And I'm not talking the full moon now, I'm talking this stellium of planets in Capricorn. And or if you're Virgo, it's going to happen in your 5th house, or if you're Scorpio ascendant, it's going to be happening in your 3rd house. So it's happening somewhere specifically, and you likely are aware of this, whether you're aware of where it is or the astrology at all, because there's a sense of responsibility and sort of a weight to life because things are focused in that area. So what this full moon will help bring is the ability to have some more compassion, where we may need to have some compassion for our seriousness or for others. Also, Cancer wants us to be devoted, and devotion of the heart. Sometimes Cancer, and with the full moon there, we can be very emotional. I want to invite you to be aware of that during this time, and especially with this opposition of these planets in Capricorn, which I will talk more about in just a moment, because that seriousness sometimes can cause us to have, be emotional, and instead really drop into what are you devoted to? And again, this is go back to the nourishment, and what nourishment can you give yourself, can you give others, diving into the spiritual practices I just talked about, get into the deeper devotion. Emotions are wonderful. We have to let them go through, but we don't want to get them lodged in our system. And if they're emotions that really aren't good for us or anybody else around us, we don't want to perpetuate them. All right, we have Mercury Retrograde coming up at the end of the month, and that starts on the 30th of January. I'm going to talk about that in just a moment, because it's all tied together, because it's all happening in this place where all the planets are, which is a place of focus and concentration and responsibility. This is happening in structure. This is where Capricorn is, and all the planets are either there or on their way there. Mercury will be joining that party during its retrograde. But it's calling you to structure, have really good boundaries, or to shore up your boundaries, or your boundaries are being challenged. And the shadow side of that is control, of course. Again, a sense of seriousness and, dutiful and responsibility. So for instance, like if you were a Scorpio ascendant, and this is happening in your 3rd house, with just brothers and sisters, your comrades. It's also communication. It's also the arts. But you might feel responsible around a sibling or siblings, for instance, or it's kind of those friends too, who you consider to be your brothers and sisters, or some of those relationships might have gotten deeper during this time. So the full moon's going to bring some compassion to that and some more heart to that. So, stability and boundaries and responsibility is all fine. It's all good and all needed, but it can leave us feeling kind of cold, and it can leave us a little disconnected. So we want to be careful of that, and the full moon is going to help with that. Now, Capricorn wants structure. It wants system. It wants organization, and it is recreating some of that and redoing that. Now, collectively, we need that big time. In this paradigm shift that we're in, much is broken down. I guarantee you more will break down, because what is not working cannot hold up to the energy anymore and must be reworked. And we want to have it reworked with the heart considered in that. But Saturn in Capricorn is an incredible placement for creating new structures. And the Mercury retrograde, which I want to bring in here, is going to also ask us to do some restructuring or reconsidering around whatever area of your chart this represents, but collectively around communication, around transportation, business. And in fact, the full moon is a beautiful time, because a certain aspect that goes along with the full moon around doing something new in your business or starting your business. And in fact, if you are a conscious woman visionary, and you are really wanting to step into your gifts, move your work out in the world, either at the next level or to start that. That's one of the things that is near and dear to my heart, and I specialize in. And you could drop me a comment, or I'll put my email in the notes below, and send me a note, and we can have a conversation about how we can support you in that. And it's an auspicious time during this sort of full moon time to really consider that. So the standard applies during the Mercury retrograde, which is no important decisions on the day before, day of, and day after of when Mercury goes retrograde. So that's the 29th, the 30th, the 31st, and also when it goes direct, and that'll be February 19th, 20th, and 21st. So those days you want to mark on your calendar. Really important. But as of the 5th of February all the way through the 20th or so, we've got this amazing stellium and planets. We've also got a Saraswati Yoga going on. Now, this brings an auspicious light to this whole combination of planets. And Saraswati is the goddess of knowledge and wisdom and the arts and flowing things. Now, this is going to be all the planets of light together. Wherever they're together, they create this particular yoga in Vedic astrology. And you can read up on Saraswati if you'd like, and get a little bit more of that energy about it. It's a very creative energy, and because of where it is asking us to take that creativity, to take the arts, to take that knowledge, and don't keep them up in ideas and keep expanding them there. Bring them down to the mundane, bring them down to the practical, bring it down to earth. Now, this is specific wherever it's happening in your chart, wherever this Capricorn is, but overall, you're feeling it, and wherever you're tuned into doing that. So again, what does that mean? Well, maybe you have a project that you've been thinking a lot about, and now it's time to get down and create the structure to actually bring it into form, whether that's in your business or whether that is, you can think about the painting, but then, you've got to get down to the actual, get the canvas, mark out the time, and actually get your brush to the canvas. So it sometimes loses a little bit of its sexiness because it wants to bring it down to the mundane, but let's be clear about that. Our creativity and knowledge and wisdom is best used when we finally bring it into some kind of practical form. So I want to invite you to use that time during that Saraswati Yoga time, and that's really going to be from about the 5th through the 20th. It's a pretty big window of time, and really allow your creativity to flow during that time. There is going to be an aspect, because the sun is combust during that time, of this being a little more focused inward than outward. So what I mean by that is very good for that, deep inner work. The infrastructure of the creativity, or the infrastructure, let's say, of the song, of the creative project, the preparations, the systems of what's to come, putting that in place, whether that's in a spiritual practice or whether that's actually in a project, or if you're planning on launching something for your business, just don't launch on those Mercury retrograde dates. Lots happening this month, and it's happening mostly in Capricorn. I'll be back to you for a new moon update coming up around the middle of the month. If you like this video, go ahead and hit the like hit the subscribe and share this to anyone you believe this could be helpful for. All right, leave me a comment below and tell me what you are feeling creative about and what you're going to be bringing down to earth. All right, so much love to you.